Welcome to the Vigor Life Podcast, a source of inspiration, lessons, stories, skill sets, mindsets, and strategies to invigorate and expand all areas of your life. Let's go. Hey, what's going on? Luka here with the Vigor Life Podcast, and today we got some special guests because they came down and did a seminar, so we were like, look, we're going to snatch them and make sure that they do the podcast as well and give you guys a lot of value. It's two really smart guys, like ones that I look up to. Tony Gentlicore, Dean Somerset from Canada and from Boston. So we're from all over the world right here, Slovenia. You know, I still rep Slovenia here, just so you know. But we're going to kind of go all over the board, but definitely dig into, you know, I would say these guys' expertise, which is, it's way more than that. I don't want to put them in a box. That would be the wrong thing for me to do. But we just had a shoulder and hip seminar. We're going to talk training. We're going to talk life a little bit. We're going to talk about what makes you successful in the fitness industry, but also just in general, because I think there's a lot of things that kind of are connected. So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming down and snatch.
Thanks, man. Thanks for hosting.
It's my pleasure, man. I'm
feeling vigorous. Oh, yeah. Vigor ground.
Keep saying, let's brand it, baby. Let's brand it. If you throw it in a couple of times, we're good. Yeah. We'll have Vigor Ground energy drinks here next time. But
vigor.
we'll start off by first of all, I love what you guys do because you work with. This is what's really important to me, and we talked about it. We were kind of driving at the restaurant. Is you guys work with real people in the real world on a day-to-day basis. Actually, Dean, you're saying that you're training 40, 45 hours a week, which actually surprised me in a great way. And Tony, you're also training a lot still, which I love. I absolutely love that because it's kind of like a different conversation than the theory. Mm-hmm. Now, we love theory, but I love when it works in the real world. So I'm going to start, and I'll just kind of, we'll go with Dean first, but I'm huge on not just this works, but on the behavioral change side of things, right? Like, how do you get, okay, this is what's going to work, but how do I get the person to do it? Yeah. So, with people that you're working with to get results, whether it's moving better, getting stronger, losing fat, just body composition changes, just touch on what do you find that has been a huge kind of like aha moment from the time that you're like, all right, behavioral change is big. What do I need to do to help these people change besides the X's and O's of training and nutrition and all these different theoretical things?
Well, I'm kind of in a fortunate situation because most of my clients get referred in from an outside source. So like a physical therapist, a chiropractor, a doctor. So those people have already kind of pre-sold the person to get them in front of me. So they've said, go see this guy. He's going to be able to help you out. He costs this much money. You got to be able to show up, pay for it all ahead of time. So when they come in to see me, they're already kind of bought into the program before I even have to say anything. Beside that, they might have been following me online or something like that. So they know that I can help people with certain aspects of things really well. Not to toot my own horn, but I do seem to get pretty good results out of it.
You do seem to, yes.
Seem to, yeah. I won't slap you on the shoulders again just that quickly, but then part of it's also just, how do you build rapport with the individual in front of you, and how do you relay confidence that you know what you're doing and you're going to be able to help them? So in the matter of an assessment, if I go through a history with somebody and I can say, okay, here's where the problems that you have are, here's what I'm going to do to fix it, let's try some stuff out, and I'm able to show them an immediate improvement in one way or another, that just adds confidence to their mindset that I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be able to help them. And then when people start seeing immediate results, they start thinking, wow, what else can I get from this guy? Can I get him to help me lose 5 pounds? How quickly can we do that? Or how well can I move and pick up my grandkids on the weekend? Or can I shovel snow or do anything like that? I know Seattle doesn't really shovel snow that much, but I'm sure you've heard of it. There's legends of it happening once every 5 or 10 years. I saw it on
TV. There's myths and legends of it. But.
Yeah, you go up to Mount Rainier once in a while and just kind of grab a handful and throw it down in the street, right?
This is what this is. Yeah. But touching what you said, I actually like this a lot. One is trust, right? Two is you do have to show people measurable results at the beginning. But what I really liked that you said during the seminar, during a question, you say, hey, what do you do if a person is like, well, why am I doing this? Yeah. And you said, well, you give them a choice. You don't tell them to do it. You're like, well, try this and try that. How does that feel? Well, if this one feels better, just go with that. Yeah. Right. And I think that's a humongous part of it is like the autonomy, right? The choice part where we're working with the person versus like, even though you're an expert, right? The people come for them to help you, you still to help them, I should say, you still go like, well, look, here's some choices. What do you want to do? So that they're empowered to do it. And like, oh, okay, absolutely. So I can pick which food I can eat. Yeah, sure, you can.
Yeah, and so a lot of that comes down to them just saying, okay, well, if I give you choices on different things, like if I say, well, we can do a squat or we can do a deadlift, I'll tell you why they're both good exercise, but which one do you want to do today? Then they have that ownership of the program. It's not me telling them what to do. It's them deciding what to do. And that goes a long way in terms of any kind of behavioral change. If a person takes ownership of a decision, no matter what that decision is, whether it's like, I want to eat broccoli for dinner tonight. Okay, well, you want to eat that broccoli. I'm not telling you to eat it. You want to eat it. That means you're going to do it no matter what. And if that person says, I like doing this exercise, I'm not going to tell them not to do it because they like it. So they're going to see a little bit more of a benefit from it.
I'm gonna keep going back to this because I do think it's so important. I think it's important both for the person that's listening, that's trying to change and working on change, as well as the coaches out there listening, that, because I still see too much of this. I don't know, you guys tell me if you see this a lot, right? It's like, well, we're the experts. This is how, like, these are the macros, this is the meal plan, and this is the training program that you're going to do. Yeah. Capiche? You know what I mean? It's just like...
Well, I think it comes down to it. It's not about us. It's about them. Yes. And that lack, it comes down to reactance. So I was at a seminar a couple weeks ago with Mark Fisher, and he talked about building culture and why he's been so successful with building culture with his brand and his gym. And he referenced, a few years ago with former Mayor Bloomberg of New York City, where he went, it's like, we're not gonna allow any more 16-ounce sodas, and it was like a market disaster. Like consumption went up because people don't like being told what to do. They love being given a choice. Yes. So as Dean alluded to, like if someone comes in and it's like, hey, we got squats or deadlifts, what do you want to do? I want to do deadlifts. And they're gonna be so much more willing to work hard that day, or they're gonna be more into their workout. I've gone to the point where I'm working with a client, and at the end of a set, I'm like, man, that looked easy. How about we feel? What do you feel about increasing the weight 5 or 10 pounds? And they're like, let's go for it, 10 pounds. And I'm giving them a choice. Like, hey, we can stay there. It looked good. It's challenging, but what do you think about upping the weight 5 to 10 pounds? And giving them that choice is just building autonomy. They take more ownership of that training session and their programming in general. So, I don't think being the militant coach, some do that well. That's kind of like their vibe, and that's what they're about. But I don't find it being successful with a lot of people. I think people respond more to the coaches who have a little bit of empathy and a little compassion with their training, and giving people a little bit more autonomy on what their direction of training is going.
Where it really clicked for me, like I got to kind of bring this up. I was never militant, but in a sense, it was definitely like, well, but this is good for you, right? It took like stuff in my life to get pretty fucked up, and this is obviously a triple X rated show, so we can say whatever.
Oh, I didn't know we could swear.
Oh, man, listen, I know you like, listen, let's make this more spicy here, right? Because that word brings out passion.
It does.
So, but it took that to happen for me to go like, why do I do some of the dumb shit that I do, right? And then go back to it. Even though somebody tells me not to do it, doesn't mean I'm going to change it. I had to figure it out. I had to have choices. I had to realize why do I do these behaviors? And it led me to, this whole point of, man, some people get really good results being more structured and down the narrow, but like majority of people need boundaries, right? They just need kind of like some boundaries and rules, like a basketball court, not be on a straight wire. And I'm so glad that, obviously there's a lot of people that get it, and you guys are like in the forefront, explaining this stuff. And like you said, Tony, like to give, and I want to kind of touch on this a little bit. How much leeway do you go with? You have a structured training program. I think we all write, training programs out in blocks. How much are you willing to change it based on what's going on?
All the time. I don't write perfect programs. I feel like I'm pretty good with my skill set and my expertise, where somebody comes in with, hey, I have these issues. We did an assessment. Here's what I think is going down. I know, here's what your goals are. Obviously, I'm writing a program that I feel is going to get them to that point in the safest, most efficient way possible. But there's so many other factors that come into it on a day-to-day basis with people, whether they had a bad night's sleep, their boss is being a prick, the kids keeping them up, they don't feel well. If they come in on any given training session and I see that they're kind of dragging a little bit, I got to be able to kind of tweak their program that day and show them success that day. That's going to help them, give them a good training effect, but not make them feel like they're going to be dragging ass on the way out the door. So I'm constantly like scribbling out certain exercises. We're doing this instead, because sometimes I kind of overshoot someone's abilities when I write a program, and sometimes I undershoot them. So if I feel like they're crushing a certain exercise and it's not even challenging, I'm like, well, let's do this instead. On the flip side, if I see they're struggling with it despite some extra coaching, then let's do this instead. But I'm framing it in a way where it doesn't feel like they're being told they're failing. I just say, hey, we're just going to do this instead. I don't say, oh, that looks like crap, and we have to do this now. It's just how you frame it as a coach.
You made a tweetable quote in there. I don't know if you caught it.
Oh, I don't know.
But you said to show them success that day.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Because it's like if somebody comes in, whatever state they're in, and they feel successful, like, I think you've done your job in so many different ways beyond, and the thing is, more days of success is going to lead them to the outcome that they want sooner or later.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all about showing my clients empowerment. Like, if I can show them any type of success that's going to, they did one extra rep or allows them to even get close to doing a squat a little bit better. It might not be a barbell, low bar box squat that we would deem as strength coaches that, we're going to lift heavy stuff. But I mean, if I can show them success of doing a good looking goblet squat, I can work off of that and kind of hopefully maybe get them to a barbell squat. But, it's just all about those little battles and showing them success on a day-to-day basis. So as you got to be an adaptable coach.
Yep.
So again, it's not about me. Like, yes, I'm the coach, I'm running the program, but you got to be very adaptable to be successful in this industry.
I think the best analogy, and like sometimes I just have thoughts, so I stop in the middle. But right back to it. I think I've heard this from PN actually, but it's like a coach is a guide, right? Mm-hmm. It's like most of the time we're there to guide people side by side. Sometimes you jump ahead and pull, sometimes you go behind and push, but majority of the time we're just guiding.
Exactly.
And I think if more people kind of understood that, the goal is for this person to get from point A to point B, whatever that is, and we're guiding them there. Don't let the ego get in the way and throw it off.
The big thing to remember is what the definition of a coach actually is. If we're coaching somebody on how to do something, they have to achieve it on their own, but we're trying to show them ways to get there. So, I mean, if you think of a basketball coach, the best basketball coaches are the ones that teach the players as much as they possibly can so they understand what they're doing. It's not, let's just run plays for 6 hours and let's just run you until you do the lines until your face falls off. It's, I want to help you to learn the game better so that way you can play better and make better decisions when the time comes. So in terms of being a coach, I want to help coach my clients to make better decisions and to understand what their body feels like so that way they can adapt themselves to a program or to a directive or to a goal set as they see fit.
I think, too, like as a coach, as a small business owner, like it sounds counterintuitive, but I want to make it so my clients don't need me. Yeah. Right. It's showing them autonomy and they stay.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a really, really big point.
They're like, give me, here's my money, take it. And because it's educating, it's giving them autonomy. It's showing them empowerment. Like I literally want them to make it so they don't need my services anymore. Yeah.
Because that's the empowering part of it. Right. I mean, and I think there's still too much essentially scarcity, right? Scarcity is like shit. What if they go? And it's like, no, you want to get them to a place where they can do that, because it's like, look, when they go on vacation, I love it to be like, oh man, this is a good snack. This is a good snack. I can have this instead of that. No gym, but I can do hill sprints.
Absolutely.
I can do bodyweight circuits. Yeah. And they text and go like, hey, listen, this is what I did today. Like I didn't write them that program. Yeah. They're hey, I took my kids to do this, that, and the other. Like that's when you're, I think, as a coach winning and the client's winning. Absolutely. And everybody around them is winning. Absolutely. And there has to be more of that. And, it's veering off a little bit, but I think this is why it's one, important to have that mindset, but two, why is it important for you to be successful, right? I mean, seriously, if you're successful, then you don't have that scarcity mindset of like, oh, I can't refer out. Oh, what if they leave? Because the thing is, like, let's be honest, like nobody wants, if you're a needy, like it's like the girlfriend, right? If you're a needy person, nobody wants to be around a needy person. Right? But if you have confidence in like, hey, listen, I can help you get these results and keep those results. And that's I think the key part, right? It's like humans are good at, losing weight and getting something, but keeping it is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. And that referral too, like, I mean, I don't, again, it's a counterintuitive thought, but when you tell people like, hey, I might not be the right fit, I think this person's a better fit for you. that works too, because then they don't look at you as like some douchey, shady guy that is just taking my business to take my money. Like I refer people to other people all the time.
We're saying like, I don't know.
Exactly.
I can't do that.
I don't know are three powerful words in the industry. Like I don't know. And then it's like, I can find the answer.
What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean?
People are scared to say that.
So do you guys know everything? I'm just like a quick question.
No.
I feel like
ask my wife. Ask my wife. She will tell you the answer.
I feel like I honestly don't. I know more than I ever have, but I feel like I know less than I ever have.
I feel dumber and dumber every year. Yeah. Let's be honest.
And I think it's a good thing to actually feel, right? Because it makes you. I think one of the driving factors of anybody that's successful is the curiosity, right? People say, why do you still go to so many seminars? I'm like, I'm curious. Like, even, I flew in yesterday, but today there was a ton of stuff that I picked up that I was like, ooh, one was like, I don't do enough of that. Oh, we don't do that. Yeah. Like we could use this here, here, and here. Yeah. Boom. It's already better. The team's here. We have a huddle next week. This is how we can implement it in our team training and this, that, and the other. And it's like, I don't care who you are. There's no way that anybody is just like, I do all this stuff. Yeah. I got it down. I can't be better. And so I appreciate obviously you guys not only for teaching, but for also being open and going like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I just say I don't know all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
then I just email him.
When I was talking about the corrective options, I literally said I don't know how this works. I have theories as far as why I think it works, but they're probably wrong. So in time, I'll probably find out that's the exact opposite of what I think it is, but I'm all right with that. If it winds up working in one way or another and I can at least have a hand in directing it, then I made a dent in the universe somehow. So I'm happy with that.
And I think in a big way, that brings me to that whether it's you coaching and teaching, whether it's you guys doing, seminars, putting out content, right? You're always, and this will kind of all pull together, right? If you put things out, then you're in a place to be judged and persecuted, and people saying, or on Facebook, right? You write something on there and it's like, hey, you're wrong. And I think it's the reason why a lot of people don't do things. Like they don't, go forward and try to make the transformation or go for the job or go for asking the girl out. I don't know, right? It's like the fear of rejection. Yeah. And, how would you guys say, like, more so, like, let's talk about just in a sense of how it was for you guys starting something that was difficult, whether it was your own business or starting, an online business. Yeah. What was the thing that made you go like, I'm doing this? Like, this is the aha moment. Like, I'm scared shitless, but I got to do this.
Honestly, if you were to ask my 11th and 12th grade English teacher that I'd be a published author and I'd be like in Men's Health and T Nation, they literally would shit a Hemingway novel. They'd be like, there's no way this kid is going to could put two coherent sentences together. But it was kind of a natural progression with my career where I was coaching for 5 years. I knew I had a lot to say. I was learning. It's like I'm reading other people and be like, oh, I think I could take that information and put it in a way that's a little bit more digestible for a broader audience. And, it's going to allow me to get my name out there to a broader audience to write for an online publication or whatever. So that was kind of a little bit of a driving force, is that I knew I'd be able to reach more people with a certain message, whatever it may be. But it is very daunting and scary. I mean, my first article was published in my blog 2006. The world in 2006, Instagram didn't exist. I think Twitter had just started. Facebook wasn't really Facebook, what it is now. So, it was daunting then. That look, don't get me wrong. Like, there are times it's hard not to read the comments and people saying this is dumb, you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about. And you learn as you go to kind of phase it out. Like, turn the page and don't let it bother you. And nowadays it's just it is very saturated. Like, it's kind of harder to make. Dean and I were kind of early in the game with getting content out, but you learn to, again, just to kind of turn the page and not pay too much attention to people being obtuse and narrow-minded in their comments. But it's just one of those things where I felt it was a natural progression of my career.
Would you say that because kind of like what I'm seeing is the behavior part of it, right? I mean, back then your outcome might not have been like, oh, I'm going to write for this here and get so many readership, but it's the behavior part. Look, I'm going to write the best quality content I can, put it out there. If I keep repeating this behavior and keep getting smarter and better,
you get better by doing it. Yeah. Plus, I'm a super introvert, so writing is like my catharsis. Like, you know, like that is like I'm in like the flow state when I'm writing. So that helped. But yeah, it's still daunting. I mean, you know, I get asked all the time by young fitness professionals, like, hey, how do I get better at writing, or how do I get my name out there? You do it. Yeah. I mean, there's no sexy answer to it. There really is not. Like, you got to put content out there, and if it's good and you're consistent with it, people are eventually going to read it and share it and whatever. But you either put your foot in or you put it out. Like, you're either going to do it or not, and you're only going to get better by doing it. I mean, I don't even know if there is a better answer than that. You just got to do it.
No, I think it's the right answer. And then people want to make it complex
sometimes. Like.
Are you still go to a time?
Yeah, I still got about maybe like 10 more minutes.
Oh, that's okay. He's got to get to the airport. But listen, man, we care about these guys. But you know, the thing, I think that people, like, when we talk about simplicity and complexity, right? You say, you know, just do it. Like, look, maybe for the next year you'll write and nobody will give a shit. But after a year, somebody will pick it up and people will start reading it and whatever, right?
I wrote for free.
Yeah,
like, I literally wrote like for other publications. I mean, for free before I did my own website, anything like writing for a blog. Like, I wrote for free. I wasn't expecting to get paid, and I think that's a mindset that a lot of like people make nowadays. Like, hey, what's in it for me? Like, pay me. How much are you going to pay me?
The first article you write is going to be a feature in Men's Health for $5,000. Right?
And nowadays, like, payment is way different. Payment is exposure. Like, it isn't even monetary. Like, you know, like when someone writes a guest post for myself or Dean, like, they're getting exposure to, like, we're kind of vouching for them. You know, we're not just letting any random person write for our respective websites, but we're not paying them, but we're giving them, hey, the platform, exactly.
Like, listen, in essence, it's one of those things. Like, I will pay Oprah to be on Oprah, a lot of money, right?
Exactly.
But it's distribution, and I think that it comes back to just like anything. Like if you can focus and get focused on doing a behavior of creating great work, the best work that you can at that point in time, and you just keep doing that, like, it's gonna, like, something is gonna happen. Now, whether it's 4 months from now, 6, 12, or 18, my question always becomes, like, how many corners are you willing to turn? And I think there's too much of, currently I think there's a lot of like, well, I'm willing to put in this much. Whereas for me, it's always been, well, I'll turn as many corners as I need to. If that's 3 years down the line or a year down the line or whatever, you know, I'll just do whatever needs to be done. And, you know, getting people, I think, you know, this kind of runs back. You said, like, I just want to make somebody successful that day. Like, if you make somebody successful 100 days in a row, right? I mean,
things are going to happen.
They're going to have, like, more confidence and belief to do whatever, like, you know, change something in a relationship or get the other job or ask something that they were scared to ask before. And that's why, like, I love, you know, the reason why I love what we do so much is because we do get to change shit, like legitimately change stuff, right? I mean, how many clients, you know, have you coached that you see them transform, but then they're like, hey, Dean, you know, I just did something completely outside of fitness, but they were able to do it. Like, you get that a lot?
Yeah, 975 times. There you go.
Got it. I'm tracking this shit, by the way.
I just came up with a number.
And the average income raise of my clients has been $47,000.
But I mean, I've got a lot of cool stories. Like, I've had people that go through cancer treatments while training with me, and they're able to come out of it. And there's a lot of research that shows that exercise during chemotherapy is beneficial mentally, psychologically, socially, physically, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, just looking at something like that is huge. To have a person go through something that's a massive problem in their life, and they're able to even just have an outlet to manage it, and then have a physical outlet to go with it too. You can't top something like that.
And it's actually a friend of mine who unfortunately he's like 37, and he was diagnosed with cancer, and he's pretty much, the tumors have shrunk to like 20% thing now, so it's successful. But, you know, we talked, and I said, listen, man, like, you know, treat your body right. Come in here whenever you want to, but, like, come in. I don't care if you can only, like, do warm-ups for 10 minutes and leave. you're going to win. And that was such a big thing for him because like he kept feeling like he was succeeding.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I did 10 minutes. I won today.
Huge.
You know, today was an hour. I felt great. The next day felt like shit.
Yeah.
Just walked and just did some movement stuff, but it's like you were winning.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of like the fitness can sometimes be such a great vehicle for people to overcome things and gain confidence and belief to then change other things in their life.
Yeah.
And so like leading back to that a little bit, and I'm touching on a lot of different stuff because I'm so big on, last 3-4 years I've been studying behavior change and neurology and psychology so much because I started figuring out, well, listen, if we can't get people to do this shit, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What are some things that you guys do on the lifestyle and nutrition end of things when you're helping people out? Start with you.
For me, I'm a big fan of like the lowest hanging fruit. So what's the least impactful change that person can make that's going to be positive? So if that's something like, okay, well, what about if you drink a glass of water in the morning? Okay, I can do that. Okay, great. You've stepped foot into at least one direction that's going to help you get in a healthier mindset. What about if you were to go to bed a half hour earlier? Yeah, you can do that. Okay, cool. Now we can do something like that. So without even worrying about doing like 180 turn on what their diet is, it's just trying to make those small steps that take zero obligation in their life to be able to move them in the right direction. So instead of doing a 180 degree turn, we do a 1 or 2 degree turn. And if we can do like 5 or 10 of those small things, they add up. Mm-hmm. Just like you're talking about, if we can get 1% better every day, it's the same concept.
I hope everybody heard this. Okay, we've only talked about this every single time that I do this podcast, but this is the tendency, right? It's like small hinges swing big doors. But how big of a difference? Because most of the time people come in and like, look, I want to get ripped. And it's too much.
Yeah.
Changing all their stuff is too much.
Yeah.
And if you go like, look, let's just change your breakfast, and it's like, that's it.
Yeah, for now.
It's easy, right? And they're like, yeah, that's easy. Okay, well, then you'll be able to do it for the next 3 weeks. No problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay, prove it to me. Earn it, own it. Yeah. It's almost like what we talk about in the seminar, right? Own this position, earn it, show me, and I'll give you more. Yeah. And then it gives them something to work for. Like, all right, I'll show you.
Yeah. And it also just makes it so that it's not something they have to struggle with either.
Exactly.
So the chance of relapse is like next to none. Mm-hmm. So if I tell a person, okay, I want you to have a vegetable for dinner. You can pick whatever one you want. I just want you to have a vegetable. However much you want, however little you want, have a vegetable. And if they're used to having nothing but like rice or pasta or pizza or something like that, for them to have a vegetable, it's a change,
it's a big deal.
But it's still moving them in the right direction. Yep. But that's getting them into that habit of, okay, I'm having a vegetable for dinner. If they don't have a vegetable any other time of the day, that's a victory.
So let me ask you something, because right now, so we kind of live in this, world where people want this 30-day detox, the 6-week this. And first of all, like we still do this as front-end officers. So we have like 8-week and 12-week challenges.
Yeah.
But explicitly explain this is a catalyst, right? Because it's a jumpstart program. Because the way that you're explaining what we teach here pretty much majority of the time is like the habit change stuff, mm-hmm. right? Is it takes longer, right? I mean, nobody's going to change in 3 months and then maintain that change for forever and not need it anymore. Yeah. How do you deal with that when you do get people that, go like, okay, look, I got 8 to 12 weeks. I need you to help me transform. And then that's it. Mm-hmm. Which approach do you take with the conversation that you have with the person?
Well, part of it's why is that time zone there? Like, are you training for something like a bodybuilding show, which has a very finite date, or a wedding, which has a very finite date? Or are you just training for 8 weeks from now because it sounds like a good idea? So if a person's just training because it sounds like a good idea, their emotional buy-in to that option isn't that high. So 2 days from now, when it starts getting a little sticky and the workouts start getting really sweaty, they're going to drop out because there's not enough valuation on that endpoint to make them justify sticking it out. So then we got to rethink, okay, well, you just dropped out after day 2 and you said you wanted to do a 12-week challenge. What's going on here? At that point, it's a matter of, okay, what are your actual values? What are your priorities? How do we actually get you into a mindset where you're able to say, I want to achieve this? And a lot of the time, it's having a long game plan. Making sure they're able to say, I want to still be doing this 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever, but making sure that it's moving in a direction of having a better life. If you do a 12-week plan, that's hell. Like, I'm not going to argue about it. Like, when you're working that hard, that high intensity, doing a 180 with your life, people are struggling with it and stressing about it. So if I can make it so that it's less impactful on their entire lifestyle and make it something that's a better choice for them, we can do that. But a lot of it comes down to understanding, why is that time frame important to you? So if you got a wedding coming up, absolutely. We're going to hammer it hard. You're going to stick with it because you're going to have those wedding photos the rest of your life. I want to make sure you look damn good in them. If you're going to do a bodybuilding show, you're going to be standing on stage next to naked, wearing tanning oil and all that kind of stuff. So let's make it happen. If you're doing it because it's a Thursday, that's not going to work, right? You got to make sure that the value behind that goal set is behind what your emotional buy-in to that option is. If it's not, it's just not going to work.
I think that's a great point. And getting emotional buy-in, which a lot of times can be like, hey, what's your why? But do you want it to be sustainable? What I've started asking the question now is a lot of times, okay, so what's more important to you, to gain this result in 12 weeks and then lose it all? Or is it more important to get 10, 20% less results, but keep it for the rest of your life or keep it sustainable?
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10 times, if it's not like a wedding or something else, the answer was like, well, no, I'm tired of the up and down. Because I'm sure a lot of people you guys see have lost weight, gained weight, had transformed and lost it again. And I think that's what's important to like ask that question. Well, like, do you want this for good? What's the long game? What's the long-term plan? And I mean, do you ever get to a point where you're sitting with somebody and just go like, this is not the right fit? Like, I'm not going to be able to help you with what you want.
I've never fired a client. I think when I was at Cressy Sports Performance, I can count on one hand. And in 8 years I was there, where we had to kind of like cut ties with like a parent, or it's more so the parents than it was the kids. But that's a whole nother story. But it's expectation management. Sometimes you got to have like the heart to heart talk. But like, listen, like, I don't think I can provide what you want me to provide. Like I just, but a lot of times too, it's weird because when you say like, hey, I'm not a right fit, then like, oh, no, like we can make this work. It's like, it's almost like a reverse psychology of like getting them to buy in even more. Like, okay, I'm going to listen now. Like if you tell them Pete Dupuy did it all the time at CSP, where he's like, he'd be on a phone consult, they'd be moaning about price points or why this and that. And he'd be like, well, maybe we're just not the right fit. And they'd be like, no, wait.
We'll when you double.
Yeah. Once you say no to somebody that you like you're like, it almost inevitably will it's weird. I'm sure there's some psychological term with that, but
people don't like being told no.
Yeah, and then they're gonna be okay.
Well, it's also like here. I mean, I think there's a couple of things. One is like not being told no. The other thing is too, like the whole needy part of it is like, listen, like, I mean, I think what's important is that you stand for your values. So it's like, look, this is what I believe in. You're asking me to do something that's not within what we actually believe in. So no, I don't think it'll be a right fit, right?
I also know my strengths and weaknesses. Mm-hmm. Like I'm able to say like I am not the right fit for you because I'm not very well versed in Olympic lifting, for example. Like, so if someone comes to me like, hey, I want to learn how to snatch or clean, or I mean, I could refer them to some. I am absolutely 100% on point with saying, hey, sorry, I'm not the right fit. If someone wants to do contest prep for a bodybuilding show, hey, I'm not the right fit. Like, I've never done it. So if I've never done it myself, how can I expect to be able to relay that correct information to them? So there's a little bit of integrity involved.
Yes.
So, and that does go a long way. Someone wants to learn how to get strong and deadlift and maybe do a powerlifting competition or become a little bit more athletic. I'm your man. Like, lose a little fat, get better shape, like whatever. But I there's integrity that's with that, and I'm more than willing to admit when I know I'm not the right fit for somebody.
I would recommend that integrity is such a powerful world from the standpoint of business or anything in life, where you get to a point where you're so confident, like, look, I know what I do, I know what I don't do. I think that you actually start attracting more of the right client, because it's like that certainty comes out. We just had it happen where somebody with Olympic weightlifting, and like, I'm decent at coaching Olympic weightlifting, but we rarely use it. Mm-hmm. And I said, look, my friend Ryan Reese is excellent at it. I mean, he is like legitimately excellent. He's a little further out, but if that's what you want, you should go see him. And it feels good because I'm like, you know what? He's gonna do a lot better for him in that area than I can. Yeah. And I think that's important.
Well, there was one time when I was starting out where a lot of my clientele had left for one reason or another. It was part of the recession that was going on. In Edmonton, it's a very big oil community. So we had just seen a big drop in the price of oil. So people are getting laid off and fired and all that was going on. So my business was cutting huge numbers. And I was thinking, well, do I want to stick in fitness or not? So when I was going to Chapters, which is sort of like the Canadian Barnes & Noble, instead of going into like the sport and the fitness zone, I went through the business zone instead. So I picked up about 4 or 5 different business books, and I started thinking, well, training the clients isn't that difficult. Now I got to figure out, how do I get more clients? How do I keep more clients? And I started learning more about like business aspects of things, sales techniques, referrals. How do I actually generate this as more of a sustainable business? And that created like almost a 180 flip in my thought process. So instead of it just being like, well, I'm just going to train clients and see what happens, it's more like I'm going to develop a business and actually make this sustainable. So from that, I was able to set up my own website. I was able to do all the digital products that I've done, organize that into speaking arrangements, and actually have my own own brand associated with who I am and what I do versus just being like a trainer doing what I would normally do all day long and struggle paycheck to paycheck.
That's a great point. And I think what's really important that if people looked in their lives and said, I don't have something that I want in an area of my life, I always go, how much time, energy, and money do you put in towards it? Yeah. And it really, there's only trained and untrained and prepared and unprepared, right? I mean, it's like you go, I went there and I started studying and things got better. Yeah. Right? It's like you want to improve your nutrition. How much time, energy, money do you put towards that or your training or whatever else it may be? And it can change your life. And that's, for me, I go like, I want this shit to be better. And then I look at it, I'm like, I'm not really putting time into it. Yeah. This is why it's not better. Yeah. What was it for you?
It's easy. My wife, when I met her, hey, I know I'm husband of the year now. Hey, babe. But I mean, I can keep it short and like, when I met her, she's my rock, and it gave me a ton of confidence when I met her. I mean, I think you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with. Like, I certainly being around Eric and Pete, I mean, it's been great for my career. But when I met her, I remember distinctly when I was invited for my first like big speaking engagement in Boston. I remember getting up that morning being super nervous, and I was like, babe, I think I'm going to call in and say like, I can't make it. I'm sick. And she kind of like sat down and talked me through it. She's a psychologist. She has a doctorate in psychology. So she's Jedi mind tricks, but she talked me through it because she knew that if she said, okay, we're going to call in, and that would be far worse for my confidence moving forward than sitting in front of 300 people and talking. So I ended up doing it, did well, and it's parlayed to doing what I'm doing today, being invited to speak across the country and around the world. And so she, she's been the one that's encouraged me to write and pursue other endeavors. And she's like the person in my corner. Like, she would kick anyone's ass who would just stop me from doing anything. So really, she's kind of the one that's been my help me to be what I am today.
I think you win the I think you win the answer here. Everybody else is feeling like shit. Like, damn, Tony.
I know you love Lindsay, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
But great answers, and I think there's always big points out of this. Remember, like that these guys have been in it for a long time, and that's why I respect them, because they're still in the trenches doing the work, getting real world results. And any person that's ever been on this show, you'll rarely see be like, well, I've been doing it for 18 months and I'm just dominating life. It's not really going to happen. So it's, it is the deliberate practice and over time, doing the work to get the results. We'd make this a little longer, but then Dean will probably be pissed off at me because he'll miss the flight.
My wife will be pissed off too.
Have to spend more time with me. No go. So I'd like to thank you guys. But hey, before you guys leave, just let everybody know. Follow these guys, man. They're putting out like awesome content, a lot of free content that's amazing. So both of you, where can we find more about you guys?
Home base for me is my website, my name, TonyGentlicore.com. That's my website, my blog, products, services, everything. Yep. My links to all my articles, social media. Awesome. That's the hub spot. Like training in Boston, it's all there. So that would be the easiest spot.
Perfect.
Yep. Same for me. My website, DeanSomerset.com. If anyone's ever in Edmonton, in Alberta, especially if it's not January or February, where it's colder than Mars, come hit me up and we'll maybe talk shop or do some deadlifts.
Buy your damn domains. Yournamedomain.com, damn it. Yeah. Man, figured it out. Yeah. But thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
guys.
Appreciate it.
Go to YouTube, watch the past shows, go to iTunes. We're out of here, but I'm so happy that you guys were able to hang out a little longer and stay with us. And next time. Peace out.
Yep.